Can you sing?
Oh, I thought you said can you sing?
I said, can you sing? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, what you first offer is for full obeisances unto the personality of God and Ryan, unto Narada and Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrimatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Vyantasto Vivadrani Vidinoti Suritsatam Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he was the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire from material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, and has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtapai Shulaveshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhagavati Bhavati Nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troubled in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, it's Canto 2, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations, and it's text time. Make sure I can read it easily. Put this too. Make sure we read it. Okay. Taptam. Tapo. Vidha. Loka. Sisrikshaya.
Srikshayame me.
Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame.
Taptam tapo vidya loka Srikshayame. Ado sanat swa
tapasa
sa
chatu
sano boot.
Ado sanat swa tapasa sachu dasano boot.
Ado sanat swa tapasa sachu sano boot. Prak
Kalpa Samplava Vinashtam Ihatma Tattvam Prakalpa Samplava Vinashtam Ihatma Tattvam
Prakalpa Samplava Vinashtam Tattvam
Samyag Jagada Munayo
Yad
Achakshatatmam Samyag Jagada Munayo Yad Achakshatatmam Taptam no, I'm sorry, we got the whole thing. Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame.
Taptam vidya loka Srikshayame.
Ado sanat swa tapasa sachatu sanobut.
Ado sanat swa tapasa sachatu sanobut.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Samyak jagada munayo yad achakshatatman.
Samyak jagado munayo yad achakshatatman.
Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame.
Taptam tapo vividya loka Srikshayame.
Ado sanat swatapasa chatu Ado sanat swatapasa chatu sanobut.
Ado sanat swatapasa sachato sanabut.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Samyag jagada munayo yad achakshatatman.
Samyak jagado munayo yad achakshatatman.
Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame.
Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame.
Ado sanat swatapasa sachatu sanobut.
Ado sanat swatapasa sachatu sanobut.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam.
Samyag jagada munayo yad achakshatatman.
Sanyas jagado munayo yad achakshatatman.
Please chant.
Taptam tapo vividha loka Srikshayame. Ado sanat swa tapasa sachatu sanobut. Prakalpa samplava vinashtam ihatma tattvam. Samyak jagada munayo yad achakshatatman. Prakalpa samplava vinashtam tattvam.
Anybody else? So, word meanings. Taptam, having undergone austerities. Tapaha, penance. Vividha loka, different planetary systems. Sisrikshaya, desiring to create. May, of mind. Ado, at first. Sanat, from the personality of Godhead. Swatapasaha, by dint of my own penances. Saha, he, the Lord. Chatusana, the four bachelors named Sanat Kumara, Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sanatana.
The four bachelors named Sanat Kumara,
Sanandana, and Sanatana. Sorry, I'm just reading. Abhut, appeared. Prak, previous. Kalpa, creation. Samplava, in the inundation. Vinashtam, devastated. Iha, in this material world. Atma, the spirit. Tattvam, truth. Samyak, incomplete. Not as in not complete, but as in, and then the word complete. Like within complete. Jagada, became manifested. Munaya, sages. Yat, that which. Achakshata, saw clearly. Atman, the spirit. Okay, translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. To create different planetary systems, I had to undergo austerities and penance. And the Lord, thus being pleased with me, incarnated in four sanas, Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana. In the previous creation, the spiritual truth was devastated, but the four sanas explained it so nicely that the truth at once became clearly perceived by the sages. Please repeat. To create different planetary systems, I had to undergo austerities and penance. And the Lord, thus being pleased with me, incarnated in four sanas. Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana. In the previous creation, the spiritual truth was devastated. But the four sanas explained it so nicely. That the truth at once became clearly perceived. By the sages. Purport. The Vishnu Sahasra Nama prayers mention the Lord's name as Sanat and Sanatanatama. The Lord and the living entities are both qualitatively Sanatana or eternal, but the Lord is Sanatanatama, or the eternal in the superlative degree. The living entities are positively Sanatana, but not superlatively, because the living entities are apt to fall to the atmosphere of non-eternity. Therefore, the living entities are quantitatively different from the superlative Sanatana of the Lord. The word san is also used in the sense of charity. Therefore, when everything is given up in charity unto the Lord reciprocates by giving himself unto the devotee. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Yayata mam prapadyante. Ramaji wanted to create the whole cosmic situation as it was in the previous millennium. And because in the last devastation, knowledge of the absolute truth was altogether erased from the universe, he desired that the same knowledge again be renovated. Otherwise, there would be no meaning in the creation. Because transcendental knowledge is a prime necessity, the ever-conditioned souls are given a chance for liberation in every millennium of creation. This mission of Brahmaji was fulfilled by the grace of the Lord when the four Sanas, namely Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana, appeared as his four sons. These four Sanas were incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, and as such, they explained transcendental knowledge so explicitly that all the sages could at once assimilate this knowledge without the least difficulty. By following the footsteps of the four Kumaras, one can at once see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within himself. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So here we see that Brahma had a desire to have transcendental knowledge available in his creation. He was the hands-on creator, and he wanted this. So he's actually 5 of his sons, because Narada Muni also, their whole purpose is to transmit, spread transcendental knowledge. So they both experienced extreme renunciation. Well, let's see, the 4 Sanas did not even want to grow up. Did not want to be disturbed by any sex desire or any material desires of any kind. So they remained innocent little 5-year-old boys by their own power. So higher beings can do that. They can grow immediately, like Srila Vyasadeva did. He was born on a created island in a fog in the river. The sage, what's his name? Parasara. Yeah, he saw the river and his daughter, and he asked her if she would give him a son. Well, she was just a girl. She said, I can't. I'm just a girl. She said, well, that's all right. You all protect your virginity. Everybody will see us. No, they won't, because we're going to make an island in the fog. So there was an island in the river in a fog, and he impregnated her. Then she gave birth immediately, and that was Srila Vyasadeva, and he grew up immediately to a young man. And they can do these things. So, and then her virginity was restored, protected. And so later on, she went on to marry King Santanu. And so she had more sons. So there was a whole story. But anyways, so they can change. They can control their age. And the 4 Kumaras decided to stay 5-year-olds. Apparently, Srila Vyasadeva's son, Shukadeva Goswami, could do that too, because he was 16 years old, and he grew up immediately, and that was before the Pandavas were even born. He grew up immediately. No, that was him. I'm getting stories mixed up. No, it's not clear. What am I saying? Okay, Shukadeva Goswami was born not to Parasara. That was his father. So anyways, but he grew, it was before Krishna left. And then he came, and Parikshit Maharaj was about to leave his body, about to be killed. And so he came and spoke to him. That was a long time in between. Parikshit Maharaj wasn't even born yet. And here he was, quite a grown-up king. So Krishna was here. Krishna talked him into coming out of the womb because he was so renounced. He wanted to just stay a baby in the womb. And I don't think he grew to be a 16-year-old boy in the womb because they can control their age, right? So he probably stayed a little baby in the womb so that they would have killed his mother. So he stayed a little baby in the womb because he didn't want to come out and face all this stuff, just like the 4 Kumaras did not want to grow up. So they stayed innocent 5-year-old boys. Well, Shukadeva Goswami didn't even want to come out and encounter any of this stuff. So Krishna talked him into coming out, and then he heard the Bhagavatam from his father, And he was attracted, he became a devotee of Krishna instead of a very advanced impersonalist. And then he was present when Krishna took the sages. He was apparently like a young man. Krishna took the sages with him to go to visit the kingdom of Mithila, and where Krishna was invited simultaneously, led by the Brahmana and by the king. The poor Brahmana and the great king invited him. He simultaneously went both places with the sages, and each one received appropriate kind of hospitality from each one. And Shukadev is listed as being in that group. Krishna was still on the planet. So then, a long time later, here's Parikshit Maharaj cursed to die, and along comes Shukadev Goswami, a 16-year-old boy. So this seems to be another example of a great sage, a higher kind of being who can control what age he's at, whatever works best for his spiritual life. So anyway, the four sons remained 5-year-old boys, but they were really very, very advanced and pure devotees. And they had the ability to go up to the spiritual world, which Narada Muni also had. They both have the ability, all 5 have the ability to go to the spiritual world if they want to. And we can't do like that. So these are amazing things. So anyway, they received transcendental knowledge, and they were able to speak it in such a pleasing and clear way that all the sages who had been born into the universe, having lost all their transcendental knowledge, they understood immediately. So the universe again had transcendental knowledge within it, which could be passed on. So we see there's different ways it was passing on. I'm not sure exactly how the four sons got there. I know they went to the bottom of the universe and spoke with Lord Ananta. I don't know if that was how. I think they got some knowledge from that. I don't know if they got all. They were impersonalists, very advanced impersonalists, and they went to the spiritual world and met Jai and Vijay at the gate. And there was a little drama there where Jai and Vijay thought that they had no business coming up here, so they wouldn't let them in. And so they cursed Jai and Vijay, and Jai and Vijay had to come and play the role of demons for Krishna, so he could have a nice fight. And actually it says that Hiranyakashipu was the first demon in the universe. After that, there's been lots more, and it becomes common. But anyways, they became devotees when they met Lord Vishnu in that encounter. They became devotees when they smelled the tulsi leaves on his feet. Before they even saw him, they became devotees. They became attracted. And they were impersonalists who weren't attracted to anything. So the impersonalists become attracted to Krishna because he can attract even the impersonalists who have achieved the state of not being attracted to anything. Krishna can still attract them because he's transcendental and he's so beautiful. So the sadhus had spiritual knowledge and they could pass it on. They were teachers. And Narada Muni also passed it on. Narada Muni got his knowledge directly from his father by asking him, who do you worship? If you're the creator, who do you worship? And so Lord Brahma is now explaining everything to him. And so he became great spiritual master among the demigods. And he wanders the universe. May still be doing this. Probably still, because Prabhupada said that Narada Muni stopped in and attended kirtan sometimes. And Prabhupada saw him. And so he wanders the universe and he preaches here and there. He saves different individual souls. So he even went and preached to a hunter. He preached to a snake and saved souls. They wander and they preach this knowledge and it becomes available. And so, let's see. So this purport starts out with this point that the Lord and the living entities are all eternal or sanatana. But the Lord is Sanatanatama, the most eternal. So how can it be more eternal than eternal? But that's because we may fall down here and experience non-eternality, even though we're still eternal. We experience birth and death, which Krishna never has to experience. So that's a difference, a quantitative difference. We are as eternal as Krishna, but we're much, much smaller. Let's see. And the next paragraph says the word son is also used in the sense of charity. Therefore, when everything is given up in charity unto the Lord reciprocates by giving himself unto the devotee. First, this word of charity is really interesting. And nowadays, we don't have the right understanding of that word according to the Vedic scriptures. The word has come to mean giving to the poor, giving to the needy. And of course, you're supposed to be a little bit religious about it, for God's sake, somehow, to help God give mercy to the poor or something. But in the Vedic scriptures, you give charity is what you give to the worthy, not to the needy. Needy are supposed to be taken care of as a routine thing. And the king really should be making sure that they're taken care of. But charity, you give, so it says you can give up everything in charity unto the Lord. So who's more worthy than the Lord? So you give everything to the Lord. That's charity. Or you give to a great saintly person. That's charity. So this is a quite interesting understanding of the word charity. And it mentions Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusya parta sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I will reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. O son of Pritha. So I'll read out a little bit paragraph. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized as impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence, and as the all-pervading Supersoul dwelling within everything. I don't know if I can keep this so much. Including the particles of atoms. Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Sorry. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, unless anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have it. So then we have also the Brahmajyoti, and all of creation is made from the Brahmajyoti, and it's called the Vishvarupa, the universal form of the Lord. So there isn't anything else. So whatever anyone's realization is, wherever anyone's path goes, number one, Krishna owns all the paths. So he says, everyone follows my paths. So whatever path you take, it belongs to Krishna. And he controls the result. And then everything that you follow, some kind of spiritual or pseudo-spiritual path to get something. It's all within the Brahmajyoti, all within the Vishvarupa, which is Krishna's material form, universal form. And so Krishna is realized in some way or other and rewarded, and is giving reward some way or other for every path, every endeavor. And of course we have to have some knowledge. So we choose the right path, because if we choose a path that's mixing in our material desires and a path in ignorance or something, we're not going to get lasting happiness out of it. So we need transcendental knowledge. We need to hear from the spiritual master, from the scriptures, from the great devotees, and even from fellow devotees who are hearing also like this and can remind us of things. So we need to hear like this to have the right path and to get the result we really want, the happiness that we want. So let me check and see if there's any more. Let's see here. Okay, Lord Rama wanted to create the whole cosmic situation as it was in the previous millennium. And because in the last devastation, knowledge of the absolute truth was altogether erased from the universe, he desired that the same knowledge again be renovated. Otherwise there would be no meaning in the creation. So Lord Brahma, he was creating in the mode of passion. He's a devotee. So he knows the whole purpose of it is for Krishna. He's doing it for Krishna. So we may, in ignorance, in the mode of passion, we may create something beautiful, like some art or something like that, whatever somebody likes to do. And beautiful building, beautiful farm, whatever. And there's no meaning to it. And maybe you don't know, or maybe somehow you're just not satisfied, it doesn't last. And so that's because it's not about transcendental knowledge, it's not about giving transcendental knowledge. So Lord Brahma is a devotee, he knows this very well. So he wanted there to be transcendental knowledge dispersed in the universe. So you have to create teachers, you have to create channels for it to go through people and be multiplied. He said transcendental knowledge is a prime necessity. The ever-conditioned souls are given a chance for liberation in every millennium of creation. This mission of Brahmaji was fulfilled by the grace of the Lord when the four sons named Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana appeared as his four sons. They're incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. They're empowered incarnations, and they're Shaktivesh avatars, right? They're incarnations of the knowledge. They explain transcendental knowledge so explicitly that all the sages could assimilate. And that is also what Prabhupada has done. He has explained so explicitly to the nth degree so that we can find our answers in this book. We can understand. Even us Westerners who just grew up without any of this knowledge, with misconceptions, we can understand clearly. We can replace all the misconceptions with the truth. We can understand clearly how to move forward. It's an amazing thing that this has been given to us. Prabhupada is like the four sanas. Prabhupada is like them too. So we could, at once, when you join the movement in just a few, almost like in a few days, so you start associating with the devotees, reading Prabhupada's book, you start understanding the basics. And you can preach to somebody. And then you keep on studying and hearing, chanting over the years, doing service, giving realizations. You can explain to a greater and greater degree, and you become, especially if you spend some time just reading or something, some kind of preaching to the people, you discover more and more ways that you can make it more and more clear. Or maybe if you like writing or something like that, it's just like becomes a beautiful thing just to be able to say the philosophy in ways that people can understand it. It becomes more and more beautiful to you and to others hearing it. They can grasp it. It says, by following in the footsteps of the four Kumaras, one can at once see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within himself. Well, I can't see Super Soul yet. However, I can see an image of the Super Soul. And we can, as soon as we hear transcendental knowledge, we can begin to see an image. We may not directly see, but we have been given the power of imagination for many reasons, and one of them is so that when we hear, we can see what we hear. So in that way, we can see the Lord within ourselves. His descriptions are so beautiful and so vivid that we can actually see the Lord within ourselves. And as we progress spiritually, eventually, I could feel it coming closer, eventually it will blend with really seeing the Lord. Eventually we'll really see him, and because our power of imagination, it becomes so more and more alive by the by hearing and chanting and thinking and getting closer to service, become more purified, become closer and closer to the real seeing. So it's true, we can at once see the personality of Godhead within ourselves. And he's not so far away, he never was so far away. We were just covered. So I think I'll stop here and see if there's any comments or questions. It's only 8:15, so either you get an early escape or you have something to say. Yeah.
It's interesting in this Bhagavad Gita verse, which is 4:12. Is it 4:11? How did I get to
4:11?
Yeah, it's 4:11. It talks about the impersonalists that want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti or the Mayavadi-ish type. Basically, it's spiritual suicide. It's described here. And it uses those words. And it's kind of a different realization to look at it that way. The person may not really want a connection that personal with God, but they may not even appreciate or like themselves.
Yeah. I don't believe, when you commit suicide, regular suicide, you're still eternal.
Right.
Just your body is
Your
dead.
body
It
is
says you commit
500
spiritual suicide.
500 years of being a ghost.
I don't think that there can be such a thing as somebody ending prospects for relating to Krishna forever and ever and ever. I think it just may take a long time to come back.
Well, since they get absorbed into the Brahmajyoti, when it cycles back again, they get popped back out, right?
I don't really know. I don't know if it says clearly exactly that. Okay, almost everything's been explained. Well, that's probably been explained, but maybe I don't understand it exactly. But I think that the soul is simply not happy there forever. And it can be forever if you choose to stay there forever. We can be conditioned forever if we choose. It can be forever if we forever choose. But all the time we have a choice. So a soul can decide, I'm restless here and this isn't satisfied. I'm going to go back down and at least open hospitals or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that they once again get tired of it and they do come back, and that's what they do, open hospitals, education, things, philanthropic work.
I guess it's theoretically possible that a soul could forever and forever and forever make that choice and not ever come back, but it's a horrifying thought in a way, but there's always free will. But that forever is a long time, and the soul may start thinking, I want something different. Soon
We've been
later.
around here forever.
Huh?
And it seems like forever. It's
Yeah.
been so long. It seems
We
like
could be,
forever.
it could be creations, thousands of creations we could be going through
How
this
many
thing.
days of Brahma?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Prabhupada says here that Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. So he helps them out.
Yeah, he helps. Anything we do, he helps us do it. You know, he's the witness and the permitter, and he's the enabler. He enables us to do whatever we want to do. That's a bad word nowadays, but he is that too.
And
Yeah.
They're just great yogis, but they are just impersonalists. They don't want to worship a form of the Lord, so then that's their reward.
They don't get the
They're
form of
just
the
in the impersonal, effulgence of the Lord, but they're so close. They're so close. All they have to do is all of a sudden just, like the Kumaras, there is a form of the Lord, there is a worshipful Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Krishna can attract even the impersonalists who don't have any more material desires. If they don't have any more material desires, he can attract them.
Well, that's kind of like me going through all of the Christian different, churches, wanting to know about God, trying to find a form, and who is God, what does he look like, and seeking it, and I found Krishna consciousness, which gave me the answer.
And there are those
So
people
you were
who...
always looking for a personal form. You were never looking for an impersonal form.
Right.
There are those
They're
people...
always looking for the impersonal
There are those who...
knowledge.
Sorry, I keep accidentally interrupting.
It's okay.
There are those who, once you offer them the answer, they say, very nice, and they go on searching because they like the search.
Yeah.
But that's
search.
you've seen that
That's
again.
like the search.
Yeah. And it says such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord. So, it is amazing to talk with someone and then you communicate that and they go, wow, that's cool, but I'm in for the search.
Yeah. There's a certain envy is still there. I don't want to acknowledge. So, but then those who are searching and then they find. And then there's those who temporarily resist it. Like when I was reading The Journey Home, when he was rich, he was monk, whatever. He was associating with all these like Mayavadis and semi-devotees and all this kind of stuff. And he's still, I'm not going to surrender to this one, not this one, not that. I'm still looking for my guru. Then he finds Prabhupada, and then he did the same thing. So I haven't found my guru yet. I'm not sure yet. So it all goes away. But then after that, he went to Vrindavan, or he was already in Vrindavan. But anyway, he started meeting with devotees more, and then he saw Prabhupada again, then he knew. But it's like, no, don't go that way. But he, Krishna protection, because he was sincere, But he did kind of get addicted to the search. And you can get addicted to the search.
Well, I think his criteria was, if I recall, which that's definitely the case, but is that the person that he can completely surrender to for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he didn't find anybody like that.
Yeah. And then he found Prabhupada, and they thought this might be the person, but I don't know yet.
Right.
So off he went again, but not so far that time.
So Prabhupada called him from all the way.
That's right, Prabhupada knew.
To him.
And he had the picture of Prabhupada, and he lost it. He had the picture of Prabhupada. And he had the Krishna book, and he stole it. He had the Krishna. If he had just started reading the Krishna book, then he would have understood personal Krishna anyway. But so it just took him longer. But it's just so interesting, all the different routes different people take, to get here. And then some people, bang, right away. So how they figure that out so quick? They must be better than me.
And then the devotees say, oh, they must have been a devotee before.
Yeah, well, they probably were,
And then he was really attracted to performing such
Well, all
severe
devotees.
austerities.
Oh, yeah, you like that.
Cave and
yeah.
sat on the rock in the Ganga for hours and,
Eating
just
only
had to work
carrot.
it out, I guess.
Yeah, well, he may have done that in his past life. It may have been a natural thing.
We were all devotees. We actually are all devotees.
Yeah.
Just comfort.
There's the last.
Just depends how
Sorry,
you
everything
feel.
else, but
What did you say?
the harmonica, when he finally gave up his last material possession, but he held on to that harmonica for a long time.
Yeah.
And finally, okay.
And then the Mahamantra came to him, but he must have chanted it in a previous life, because it doesn't just come to people that way. So, that's not system. You got to hear from a spiritual master. So he must be surfacing from a past life, that he heard from someone. So, okay, anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada.
Even today, you can just pick it up.